The moment I realized my daughter-in-law had deliberately abandoned me in a foreign country, thousands of miles away from home. Without my passport, my phone, or a single dollar to my name, I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I just sat on a sun-baked wooden bench outside a massive luxury shopping mall in the sweltering 40-degree Dubai heat, and I planned her absolute, undeniable ruin. My name is Margaret. I am 68 years old. If you looked at me walking down the street or sitting on a park bench feeding the pigeons, you would see a quiet, unassuming widow. I wear sensible orthopedic shoes, beige knitted cardigans, and I carry a 10-year-old leather handbag that has seen better days. I look exactly like a woman who survives on a fixed monthly pension, clipping grocery coupons just to get by. And for the past 7 years, my daughter-in-law, Vanessa, treated me exactly like that. She treated me like a useless burden, like a peasant who had somehow accidentally wandered into her shiny, upper-middle-class life. What Vanessa didn't know, and what my son Mark had sworn on his life never to tell her, was that my late husband Richard wasn't just a salesman, as I let people believe. Richard was one of the earliest silent investors and co-founders of a massive global logistics and shipping conglomerate. When Richard passed away from a sudden heart attack, he didn't just leave me a paid-off house. He left me a highly diversified portfolio, offshore trusts, and a personal net worth hovering comfortably around $42 million. I never touched it. I didn't want the mansions, the sports cars, or the yachts. I missed my husband, and money couldn't bring him back. I lived quietly in my modest 3-bedroom townhouse in the suburbs. I wanted to see if the people around me loved me for who I was, or for what I could buy them. I wanted to see their true character. When my only son, Mark, married Vanessa, I knew instantly what kind of woman she was. She had dollar signs in her eyes and a heart made of cold, hard plastic. She was obsessed with status, designer labels, and portraying a perfect, wealthy lifestyle on her social media. Mark, my sweet but utterly spineless son, was working himself to the bone as a corporate architect just to finance her endless, reckless spending habits. Vanessa merely tolerated me. She would roll her eyes when I spoke, sigh loudly if I asked for a glass of water at her house, and never let me hold my 2 grandchildren without standing over me like a hawk. To her, I was just Mark's broke, annoying mother. But last year, as my 68th birthday approached, I decided to do something nice. I missed my grandchildren terribly, and I wanted to give my son a break from his exhausting, stressful life. I invited them over for dinner and told them I had saved up a little nest egg over the years and wanted to treat the whole family to a 2-week luxury vacation. 1 week in Dubai, followed by a few days in Oman. Vanessa actually laughed in my face when I suggested it. She sat at my worn-out kitchen table, looking at her manicured nails, and smirked. "Margaret, do you even know how much a trip like that costs? You can't afford that on your little Social Security checks. A trip to the local state park is more your budget. Dubai is for the elite." I smiled politely, reached into my purse, pulled out a sleek, heavy titanium travel credit card, and placed it on the table. "I've been saving for a long time, Vanessa. The budget for this trip is $60,000. But since you are so good at planning and know all the best places, I'll let you handle the bookings. Just use this card." Her eyes widened to the size of saucers. She snatched the card off the table so fast you would think it was made of solid gold. Suddenly, I wasn't an annoying burden anymore. I was her best friend. I was a walking ATM. That was my first mistake, giving her the power. But in a way, it was a test. I wanted to see exactly how greedy she could be when given the keys to the kingdom. And oh, she did not disappoint. A month later, we arrived at the airport for our massive international flight to Dubai. When I looked at my printed boarding pass, I noticed I was assigned to seat 54J economy class. Right next to the lavatories in the very back of the plane, I looked up and saw Vanessa happily handing Mark and my two grandchildren thick, glossy boarding passes with gold lettering. Vanessa, I asked quietly, not wanting to cause a scene, are we all sitting together? She didn't even look at me. She was busy adjusting her $500 designer sunglasses. Oh no, Margaret. First-class tickets for 5 people were just way too expensive. It would have ruined the budget. Mark works so hard, he deserves to relax in a lay-flat bed. And the kids need the space to play. You don't mind, do you? You're small, and you're used to roughing it anyway. She had used my money to buy $10,000 first-class private suites for herself, my son, and the kids, and stuck the woman paying for the entire trip in the back of the plane next to the bathrooms. Mark looked down at his shoes, completely embarrassed, but he didn't say a single word to defend me. My own son. I swallowed my pride. I took my economy seat. I endured the 14-hour flight surrounded by crying babies, breathing in the smell of the lavatory, eating cold rubbery chicken while my daughter-in-law sipped Dom Perignon champagne at 30,000 feet. I told myself to be patient. It was for the grandchildren. But when we landed in Dubai, the disrespect escalated to a level I couldn't have possibly imagined. Vanessa had booked us into the Burj Al Arab, one of the most exclusive, hyper-expensive 7-star resorts on the planet. The lobby was lined with real 2-4-carat gold. When we got to the reception, the concierge handed us the room keys. Vanessa smiled brightly and turned to me. All right, Margaret, here is your key. The bellboy will show you the way. Mark and the kids and I are going up to our penthouse. I followed the bellboy. He didn't take me to the grand glass elevators. He took me down a long, narrow, carpeted hallway near the service and staff quarters. My room was essentially a glorified closet. It had no windows, a single twin bed, and a loud air conditioning vent that rattled constantly. It was meant for traveling nannies or domestic staff. Meanwhile, Vanessa had booked a massive 3-bedroom, ocean view royal suite with a private butler for her family. With my money, for the next 6 days, my existence was reduced to that of an unpaid, invisible servant. Vanessa treated the vacation like a billionaire's shopping spree. She drained thousands of dollars from my travel card every single day. Designer bags at the Dubai Mall, $1,000 dinners at underwater restaurants, private yacht rentals, and luxury spa treatments. And me? I was only allowed out of my windowless room to babysit the children while she and Mark went to high-end nightclubs. One afternoon, standing in the lobby, I gently suggested that maybe we could all have dinner together, as a family, just once. Vanessa turned around, glaring at me with absolute unfiltered disgust. Right in front of a lobby full of wealthy tourists and hotel staff, she hissed at me. Listen to me very carefully, Margaret. I am only putting up with you on this trip because you handed over the card. Do not ruin my vacation by trying to pretend we are equals. Stay in your lane, watch the kids when I tell you to, and keep your mouth shut, or I swear I will put you on the next economy flight back to America. Do you understand me? Mark was standing right there. He looked away, pretending to read a tourist brochure. Something snapped inside me at that exact moment. The gentle, forgiving, pie-baking mother died in that golden lobby. The woman who had helped her late husband ruthlessly crush rival shipping companies in the 1990s woke up. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded, looking at the floor, playing the submissive, broken old woman she thought I was. But in my mind, the gears were turning. A cold, dark clarity washed over me. She wanted to play games with my money. She wanted to treat me like a stray dog. I was about to show her what real power looked like. The climax of her cruelty, the moment that sealed her absolute destruction, happened on day 7. Vanessa announced that she and Mark had booked an exclusive 3-day VIP couples retreat on a private yacht sailing to Oman. It was an adults-only trip. I asked what the kids and I were supposed to do. Vanessa casually waved her hand. Oh, I downgraded your room to a standard twin at a cheaper transit hotel near the airport. It just didn't make sense to pay for the luxury suite while we were gone. Also, I'm taking your main titanium card. The yacht holds a large deposit and Mark's cards are maxed out. You won't need money anyway, you're just babysitting. I swallowed my pride for the children. We packed our bags and Vanessa drove us to a massive, crowded, traditional market called the Gold Souk. She said she needed to buy a specific necklace before they left. The market was a chaotic sea of thousands of people, narrow alleys, and blazing heat. Vanessa handed me her heavy designer tote bag to hold. Watch this, Margaret. And hold my purse too, it's hurting my shoulder. I'm going into this boutique to negotiate. Wait right here, do not move. So, I waited. I stood in the sweltering heat with the children for 20 minutes, then 40 minutes, then an hour. The kids were crying, complaining of thirst. I tried to open Vanessa's purse to get my phone to call her, but she had locked the zipper with a tiny gold padlock she kept on her keychain. I reached into my own pockets and realized, with a sudden, icy drop in my stomach, that my phone, my wallet, and my passport were all inside a smaller pouch that Vanessa had insisted on putting inside her locked purse before we left the hotel. I was standing in a massive foreign market. I had no phone, I had no money, I had no identification, and I had 2 crying children. Then, a young local boy walked up to me and handed me a sealed white envelope. He pointed to the entrance of the market and ran off. My hands shaking, I tore it open. Inside was a printed, one-way economy ticket back to the United States on a budget airline, departing tomorrow at 3 a.m. And there was a handwritten note from Vanessa. Margaret, the yacht is strictly VIP. You wouldn't fit in, and honestly, you're ruining our vibe. You've served your purpose. Take a taxi to the airport transit hotel. It's prepaid for one night. Go home. I'm keeping the card, your phone, and your ID in my safe on the yacht so you don't lose them. Have a safe flight. I stood in the middle of the busiest market in the world, completely abandoned. My own son had boarded a luxury yacht and left his elderly mother stranded in a foreign country, taking her credit card with him. They thought I was helpless. They thought I would sit on that bench, cry my eyes out, beg a stranger for taxi fare, and board that miserable budget flight back to a lonely townhouse. I didn't shed a single tear. I didn't panic. I calmly threw the budget airline ticket into the nearest trash can. Then, I reached into the hidden inner lining of my beige cardigan and pulled out 2 things. First, a pristine, heavy metal American Express Centurion card, the legendary Black Card. It was linked directly to my $42 million trust. Vanessa had stolen my basic travel card. She didn't know the real vault even existed. Second, a small, silver backup international phone I kept exclusively for emergencies. Vanessa thought I was just an old lady in a foreign country. What she didn't know was that 20 years ago, my late husband's law firm saved the corporate empire of one of the wealthiest Emirati property tycoons in Dubai, a man named Tariq Al-Fayed. Tariq had sworn a blood oath to my husband that if our family ever needed anything, the city of Dubai would be ours. I powered on the backup phone. I didn't call Mark. I didn't call Vanessa to beg. Begging is for victims. I was about to become an executioner. I dialed Tariq's private number. He picked up on the second ring. When I explained the situation, his warm tone shifted to absolute terrifying anger. Nobody disrespects a guest in his country, let alone the widow of his mentor. Within 25 minutes, a convoy of 3 black armored Rolls-Royces pulled up to the entrance of the market. 2 massive security guards escorted me and the children into the air-conditioned heaven of the car. Tariq himself was waiting in the lead car. He kissed my hand, apologized for my family's disgraceful behavior, and told me he was taking over. They didn't take me to a transit hotel. They took me to Tariq's private palatial estate on the Palm Jumeirah. He arranged for a top-tier royal nanny to entertain the children. Then, he handed me a secure, encrypted laptop. "Do what you must, Margaret," Tariq said with a fierce smile. "My legal team is on standby." I logged into my banking portals. I navigated to the titanium card Vanessa had stolen. My jaw clenched as the pending transactions loaded on the screen. $10,000 at a boutique in the Dubai Mall. $15,000 at a Rolex dealership. And a massive $40,000 pending charge for a VIP private yacht charter to Oman. In the span of 4 hours, she had charged over $65,000 to my name. She was treating my life savings like a lottery jackpot, laughing at the stupid old woman she had left baking in the sun. I called the dedicated concierge line for my black card. I didn't just report the card stolen, I reported it as massive coordinated international fraud. I told the bank to instantly reverse every single charge made in the last 24 hours, freeze the account entirely, and flag the physical card for immediate confiscation. Next, I logged into the Emirates Airlines portal. I pulled up the confirmation number for our first-class return flights, the flights that cost me $30,000. With 3 clicks of the mouse, I canceled Vanessa and Mark's tickets. I didn't ask for a refund, I just voided their seats entirely. Then, I upgraded myself and the grandchildren to the ultra-exclusive private suite. But I wasn't finished. I called the Burj Al Arab. I spoke directly to the general manager. I informed him that the credit card on file for Mark and Vanessa's remaining penthouse suite was no longer valid due to theft. I canceled the reservation entirely. By the time the sun set over the Dubai skyline, my trap was perfectly set. Vanessa and Mark had no return flights, they had no hotel room, their credit cards were useless pieces of plastic. And because I had reported the massive yacht charge as fraud, the yacht company was going to demand immediate alternate payment or kick them off the boat in the middle of the ocean. I slept perfectly that night. For the first time in years, I felt a profound sense of peace. The next morning, at 10 a.m., I was sitting by Tariq's infinity pool, sipping sparkling water, when my new temporary phone buzzed. It was an international call from an unknown number. I accepted the call and held the phone to my ear. "Margaret? Oh my God, Margaret, is that you?" It was Vanessa. Her voice was high-pitched, laced with pure, unadulterated panic. I spoke slowly, my voice dripping with ice. "I am here, Vanessa. Are you enjoying the yacht?" There was a stunned silence on the line. Then her panic turned into a screech. "Enjoying it? What are you talking about? You need to call your bank right now." The yacht captain just turned the boat around. He said the $40,000 payment bounced. "They are holding our luggage. I tried to use my own cards, but they are all maxed out. Fix this immediately." I let out a soft, dry laugh. "Why would I do that, Vanessa?" I reported the card stolen. "Because it was by a thief who left me and my grandchildren stranded in a foreign market with no money and no passports." I didn't leave you," she stammered, her lies crumbling instantly. "I left you a ticket. Margaret, please, this isn't funny. The marina security is literally standing right next to Mark. They are threatening to call the maritime police for theft of services. You need to pay them." "Mark is a grown man," I replied coldly. "He can figure it out. Perhaps he can sell the $15,000 Rolex you bought yesterday." I heard Mark's voice screaming in the background. "What Rolex? What is she talking about?" Vanessa was sobbing now. "Margaret, please. The hotel reservation is gone too. We have nowhere to sleep. Our flights home are canceled. We are stranded. The police are literally walking down the dock towards us right now. You wanted a luxury vacation without the burden of an old woman, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. Congratulations, Vanessa. You got exactly what you wanted. You are on your own. Enjoy the desert. Mom, please. Mark yelled into the phone, crying like a child. Mom, don't do this. We have no money. How are we supposed to get home? They are taking our passports. You should have thought about that before you let your wife steal my identification and abandon your mother, I said softly. As for the children, my lawyers have already filed emergency full custody papers in the States based on international child abandonment. By the time you find a way back, you won't even have a house to return to. No, my babies, Vanessa shrieked, a primal, horrifying scream. Watch me, I whispered, and I hung up the phone. I took out the SIM card, snapped it in half, and dropped it into my empty glass. The fallout was catastrophic and, frankly, magnificent. From what I learned later through Mark's frantic emails sent to my lawyer, their remaining time in the Middle East was a living nightmare. The yacht company did indeed call the police. Mark and Vanessa spent 12 hours in a police station trying to explain why they had attempted to charter a luxury vessel with a stolen credit card. They avoided jail only because Mark managed to pawn Vanessa's diamond engagement ring and her designer luggage to a local broker at an absolute fraction of the cost, just to pay off the yacht's cancellation fee. With no money, no hotel, and no flights, they spent 3 nights sleeping on the uncomfortable chairs in the departure terminal of Dubai International Airport. Vanessa, the woman who refused to fly anything less than first class, had to beg her parents back home to wire them money. Her parents, who lived on a tight pension and only pretended to be rich, had to take out a high-interest payday loan just to afford 2 middle-seat economy tickets on a budget airline with 3 layovers. It took them 48 hours of miserable, exhausting travel to get back to the United States. They looked like they had survived a war zone. Vanessa's designer clothes were stained and wrinkled. The arrogant, wealthy socialite was completely broken. When they finally arrived at my house to get their children, I didn't open the door. I had my security guards meet them at the gate. I handed Mark a thick manila envelope. Inside were the divorce papers I had my lawyer draft for him, a full, itemized bill of the $65,000 Vanessa had attempted to steal from me, and a legal notice officially evicting them from the house I owned, giving them exactly 30 days to vacate. Mark stood at the gate weeping, begging for forgiveness. He blamed Vanessa for everything. I looked at my son, feeling a profound sense of pity, but no sympathy. I told him that a man who lets his wife abuse his mother is no man at all. I told him he was cut off. No more bailouts. No more paying his mortgage. 6 months have passed since the trip to Dubai. Mark actually signed the divorce papers. Once the money dried up, Vanessa's love for him vanished overnight. She tried to take half of everything in the divorce, but since everything they owned was legally tied to my trusts, she walked away with absolutely nothing. Last I heard, the woman who once scoffed at a luxury suite because it didn't have a good enough view is now renting a tiny, 1-bedroom apartment over a noisy laundromat, working at a makeup counter in a mall to pay off the massive debt her parents took out to fly her home. She has no car, no designer bags, and no rich friends to impress. Mark moved into a modest apartment near my house. He takes the bus to work. He spends every weekend with his kids. He is learning, the hard way, the value of $1 and the meaning of family. We are slowly rebuilding our relationship, but he knows the ATM is permanently closed. Sometimes, when I sit in my quiet backyard, sipping tea and watching my grandchildren play, I think about that sweltering day in the Dubai market. I think about the panic I felt and how quickly it turned into power, It taught me a valuable lesson. You can be generous, you can be kind, and you can be a loving mother. But never ever let them forget that the hand that feeds them can also burn their entire world to the ground.